Okay, good evening, everybody. So, as Karen mentioned, the topic of my thesis is role of proline and ascorbate peroxidase as de-stressors for plant abiotic stress. So, I had the privilege of carrying out this project for my thesis in my bachelor's at Ravnare and Roya College, and now, as she mentioned, I'm pursuing my master's. So, over to the topic. Now, what happens is what exactly is stress? Stress is the negative impact of living or non living factors on living organisms in a specific environment. That's the general definition that you'll find on any site. Now, the impact of living factors constitutes your biotic stress, and that of non living factors constitutes abiotic stress, which we all can see from the title is the focus of this study. Now, there are different forms of abiotic stress. You have salinity, drought, flooding, heavy metals, frost, and heat. Now, why is it so important to tackle abiotic stress, especially in India? So, let me just point that out too. The study is only it only corresponds to India and not the whole globe. Now, as we all know, India is a peninsula. The vast coastline invariably accounts for the high salinity levels in the coastal soil. In addition, there is the unpredictable rainfall. You have extreme temperatures, and to top it all off, the nuisance of pests. Now, so as we can see, there is a wide array of abiotic stresses that can affect a particular country. Now, for the purpose of our study, since it was limited to the lab and we had a restrained time period, we concentrated on drought and salinity stress since that is the most recurring in our country. Now, what is drought? Drought is an extended abnormal dry period in a region receiving below average rainfall. These are some of the effects it tends to have, like stomatal closure, drying up of the soil, necrosis, and in extreme cases, senescence or death of the plant. Now, drought can be artificially induced using polyethylene glycol. So, how does polyethylene glycol work? It decreases the water potential of the rooting medium and hence the plant. For the purpose of our experiment, we used PEG with a molecular weight of 6,000. The main reason being 8,000 and 4,000 weren't available at our disposal. So 6,000 was the only one available, which is why we went with it. Moving on to salinity. It refers to the amount of inorganic salt present that is limiting to crop productivity. Initially, your salinity will cause water stress, which eventually leads to your osmotic stress. During the development and onset of salinity stress, all major processes like your photosynthesis, protein synthesis, energy lipid metabolism are negatively affected. Your higher salt concentrations will trigger oxidative stress and the production of molecules that are known as reactive oxygen species, such as your hydrogen peroxide and your superoxide radicals. And this ROS at very high concentrations is extremely toxic and its persistence can lead to apoptosis. Now, we saw that what at the molecular level, what changes can drought and salinity stress bring about, but how do we know a plant is undergoing drought and salinity stress? So we need to have a look at it visually. So some of the symptoms you can see is necrosis, you have drying up of the plant, you have chlorosis, closure of the stomata, and production of a number of molecules like proline, glutathione S-transferase, ascorbate peroxidase, glutathione reductase, and peroxidase. They have been abbreviated, but if you would like me to go through any of the abbreviations again, please do stop. Now, so these are all the symptoms that your drought and salinity stress causes. So, how do we tackle the problem at hand? What we did in the lab was we assessed the role of two molecules, ascorbate peroxidase and proline, and we saw their potential to act as de-stressors. So, first up, we have ascorbate peroxidase. It is a class 1 heme peroxidase. So, what happens is when the production of your reactive oxygen species far exceeds the scavenging of your ROS, defense mechanisms of the plant naturally get inactivated. That is when your APX comes into picture. It uses ascorbic acid as a specific electron donor and it converts your hydrogen peroxide into water and generates your monodehydroascorbic acid as a byproduct, as you can see from the reaction below here. The next molecule we use for the purpose of the study is proline. It is an alpha proteogenic amino acid, which is essential for primary metabolism and also functions as a molecular chaperone. What happens during stress is the rate of the Calvin cycle is greatly diminished and the conversion of NADPH to NADP plus gets blocked. Now, because of this, O2 does not receive an electron and it goes on to form your superoxide radical. Now, what happens is when this occurs, your proline biosynthesis pathway gets activated. Glutamate gets converted to NADP plus, and by using your NADPH, which was getting accumulated under stress conditions. An enhanced rate of proline biosynthesis helps maintain your low levels of NADPH is to NADP ratio. Now, how does this contribute? It helps sustaining the electron flow between the photosynthetic excitation center in the C3 cycle, stabilizes the redox balance, and it reduces damage to your photosynthetic apparatus. So in the end, your proline is able to protect protein integrity and enhance the activities of different enzymes under stressful conditions. Now that was just an overview of what the terms in my title consisted of. Moving on to the actual study. The aim of the study was to determine the combined effects of proline and ascorbic acid to de-stress the plant. Of basal levels, checking the levels of APX and proline under drought and salinity stress to study the stomatal apparatus. And it was divided into your laboratory experiments as well as your in-field experiments, which we carried out using small potted plants. I'm sorry, does somebody have a question? Because I can hear somebody's mic. If you have a question, you can ask. No? All right. So I'll move forward. Please stop me in between if you have a question at all. I would be happy to answer. All right. So now moving on to our materials. So sorry, moving on to the workflow first. So you have to acquire the sample naturally. Then moving on to seed sterilization and inoculation, normal PTC techniques. Moving on to inducing the salinity and drought stress in 14-day-old plantlets after they were grown on your MS basal medium. And lastly are your estimations on days 5, 10, and 15. We've taken 5-day increments because the plant usually takes the plant that we chose usually takes a lot of time to grow. So by 15 days, it would actually be a mature plant. 5 days is just a plantlet. So moving on to this materials that we acquired. So we had two varieties of sorghum bicolor, M35-1 and E36-1. These were uncharacterized and we had to find which one of them was better, suitable to tackling the stress. And why was it? We found only after a literature survey, which I will show to you all in the results. So you can see these are our seed sterilizations and inoculations. Your NaCl was to induce salinity stress. We used NaCl, which was just layered over your solid medium. And for your drought stress, we actually mixed your PEG concentrations in your liquid MS basal medium. And you can see the differences before and after induction of stress. You can see your necrosis and chlorosis happening in your plants. These were our field trials. Like I told you, we grew potted plants. This row indicates the plants that were subjected to salinity stress, plants subjected to drought stress, and your controls. So basically for salinity stress, we use 10% NaCl. For your drought stress, we use 10% PEG 6000 molecular weight, and these were your controls. And all of these were watered daily. So the extraction of your proline was carried out using sulfur salicylic acid. Then we all know your basic proline with anhydrin will give you your proline anhydrin complex, which is a reddish to brown color. This is solute to estimated calorimetry for nanometers. Apologies. Moving on to the estimation of APX, it was carried out using a protocol from Mukherjee and Chaudhary et al. This was an indirect method. Why? Because we actually estimated APX. So again, it was extracted using your trichloroacetic acid. On reaction with DNPH in the presence of thiourea, you got your phenyl hydrazone complex, which was again reddish brown, and this was estimated calorimetrically at 530 nanometers. Now, had to use what was available at our disposal. So that is why we went with the calorimetric method. Now we move on to the results. So now you can see that this was estimating the levels of APX indirectly, but and day 15, the levels of ascorbic acid and 36 one variety. All right, these were the two varieties like I mentioned before. As you can see on day 5 and 10, the levels of same on day 15. I will get to that in the conclusion as to why that occurs. So as you can see, I have mentioned here that the decrease was far greater in E36-1, that is your red bar, as compared to your M35-1, which is your blue bar. All right. So, and day 15, the levels remain more or less constant, and it is more or less equal. There's no significant difference between M31, M35-1 and E36-1. So we can say that they equally tackled your salinity stress. Moving on to the proline levels under salinity stress, as you can see, proline levels significantly increased on day 5, day 10, and day 15, and the increase was seen to be greater in your M35-1 variety as compared to your E36-1 variety. All right. Moving on to your drought stress. So drought stress proline levels, as you can see, they increase. So these are the concentrations that we use, e.g. 5%, 10%, 15%, and 20%. And we took the readings only on day 5 and day 10 because you can see till 20% concentration, there is an increase in the levels of proline, but then there is a sharp decrease on day 25. Why does this occur? Because the plants, after we did a literature survey, we say that the plants cannot tolerate more than 22% of PEG 6000 molecular weight. So at 25%, naturally they die. So we could not include them in the study. And as you can see, your E36-1 variety was better at tackling your stress as compared to your M35-1 variety. I will show you why in the coming slides. Now, those were all our lab trials. That is the ones that we carried out in the plants grown in test tubes. Now, these are the plants that were grown in your pots. So moving on to the field trials. This is again your drought stress. Now, we saw both your proline levels as well as ascorbic acid levels. This first graph shows ascorbic acid levels. The second graph shows you your proline levels. Your ascorbic acid levels, as you can see, decreased from day 5 to day 10, while your proline levels increased from day 5 to day 10. And as you can see, the increase is much more significant in M35-1 as compared to E36-1. So your E36-1 is better at tackling stress than M35-1. Now, why do I say that even though your concentration or your levels are more for M35-1? Because the basis of being able to tackle stress is to return to homeostasis faster. Now, as you can see, if you compare your control groups to your day, if you compare your control group to day 0, 5, and 10, as we can see, day 0 is your control group, we can see that the levels are much more in M35-1 and they are nowhere near homeostasis. But your E36-1 levels are still returning to homeostasis, which is why that is the basis of tackling stress, to be able to return to homeostasis faster. Now that was your drought. Now this is your salinity stress. Again, first you have your ascorbic acid levels. Second, you have your proline levels. The similar results were seen, a decrease in ascorbic acid levels and increase in proline levels. And in this case, the levels are more or less the same for E36-1 and M35-1. As you can see, the bars are more or less the same. None of them are reaching homeostasis fast. So you can say they're equally efficient or as you can say, they are parallel in line to, tackling the stress that has been subjected on them. So that was all for the field trials and lab trials. This was the study of the stomatal apparatus that we carried out only in the field trials. One under normal conditions, and the second picture showing you your stress conditions. So you can see, I think it's very faint, but if you can see, there is a small gap here in your normal conditions, which is absent in your stress conditions. So we know that even your stomata are trying to, conserve water or trying to conserve the homeostasis in the plant so that they can tackle the stress efficiently. Moving on to the concluding points. First, levels of proline and APX were higher in lab trials. Now, I assume you all would have the question, why would that be so? So as you know, in your field trials, the plants are actually in the real environment, that is your soil. Now, your soil can have a number of microorganisms. Those microorganisms can secrete a number of other metabolites. Maybe those metabolites can have positive or negative relations with both your proline and APX, which could alter their levels. In the lab conditions, it's very carefully curated. It's just your proline and APX levels and very less chances of anything else interfering with your growth or interfering with the estimations, which is why the levels were much higher in the lab trials as compared to the field trials. Then, both E36-1 and M35-1 efficiently tackled salinity stress. If you remember, both in the lab trials as well as in the field trials, the bars on the graphs were more or less the same, or they were more or less equal for E36-1 and M35-1 when carrying out APX estimations as well as proline estimations. So there is no difference, even though they are not very, as you can say, efficient in tackling the stress, but they were moving parallelly on the roads of tackling the stress. E36-1 was better at handling drought stress. Now, why do we say so? If you remember in the graph, I explained to you that the bars were more or less equal to the control. That is, E36-1 was able to regain homeostasis much faster than M35-1 in those plants that were subjected to drought stress. So that is why we can reach the conclusion that E36-1 was better at handling drought stress as compared to your M35-1. Drought stress led to an increase in proline and at higher levels APX. Now, why does this happen? Is because firstly, proline is a normal constituent that is present in all cells of the plant normally. Okay, so for even a small amount of stress, your proline system, your glutamate system will be instantaneously activated. But for APX, you require an increase in the ROS levels. ROS levels can only be increased after a certain threshold of your stress. So for that stress threshold to be reached, it takes a lot of time as compared to the stress threshold for proline levels. So that is why always during drought stress, your proline levels get increased first, and then afterwards your APX follows. Whereas for salinity stress, both of them are activated equally. Why? Because salinity stress, as we all know, NaCl is nothing but ions. And ions, when present in the plant, they increase stress to drastic levels, which automatically leads to the production of your reactive oxygen species. So under salinity stress, your reactive oxygen species is present from a very early stage, which is why your APX system can also get activated simultaneously along with your proline system. All right. And lastly, as we know, your stomatal closure occurs in response to stress. If you would like to delve into the depths, it is by hydropassive mechanism. I would be happy to share a paper or two with you regarding the so you have a hydroactive mechanism for closure of stomata. You also have a hydropassive mechanism for closure of stomata. So under stress conditions, usually the stomata take the hydropassive mechanism. Moving on to the future prospects of this study. Now, this was just very, very superficial studies that we carried out in the amount of time that we had. You can also dive into genetic and molecular level studies to obtain your sequence level data. Now, with this sequence, you can maybe genetically engineer plants that are already resistant to this drought stress and your salinity stress. Second would be the preparation of a cocktail of your APX and proline instead of your pesticides that you can harm the plant, or instead of those growth enhancers that you usually give your plant. You can just apply this cocktail to the plant in regions that are maybe on the coast or regions that are being subjected to drought conditions. And secondly, you have your extraction of secondary metabolites. Now, this is only in context with your sorghum bicolor, that is the plant that we used. It has many other secondary metabolites that are very, very useful that get produced during your stress conditions. I could name your Japonicum as one of them, Japonica or Japonicum. Let me just get back to you on that. So that is a secondary metabolite that is really, really um, useful for the plant during stress conditions, which only, mind you, only in sorghum bicolor. And another future prospect could be replicating the same studies in other staple foods, like you say, your rice, your wheat, that is really, really essential for the entire country. These are a few of the important references that I followed. You can, if you have any doubts or want to mail me anytime, that's my email ID. Thank you so much.